Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this is a special Mars update because Mars has a 2-year cycle, which is basically 24 months that we invest 6 to 8 months of during a retrograde. And I always look at that as our investment and then the 16-month return. So we're in this zone right now where I thought a special, unique update, but this is a good one to go deeper into. And what happened this week was I posted my blog with the usual overview of the energy. And then I sent out my newsletter with all these extra details at the bottom of the blog post on my weekly forecast for the week of August 23rd through the 29th. So what came to me is maybe we could put it all together in one place and look at what's happened on these first 3 activations, because it's going to happen 3 times over with Saturn and Pluto and 2 times over with Jupiter. So it would be really good to understand what's up with each activation and then consciously co-create. Because the beauty of a Mars cycle, Mars rules who we are and what we want, what we're passionate about, what we're attracted to physically a lot of times. It has to do with our sacred masculine, the part of us that can negotiate on our own behalf, get our ideas in the world, and keep good boundaries. And this is a renewal that's a little bigger than usual. Mars goes retrograde every 2 years. So I try to get people acclimated to upgrading who they are and what they want on a regular basis every 2 years. And then what we're seeing now is the last time it retrograded in Aries specifically was 1988. So we're looking at this as our sacred masculine, at least in general for the social and collective experience, has now traveled through all 12 signs, all 12 lessons, all 12 expressions of masculine and possibilities, learned everything it could possibly learn, and it's done. And now it's starting fresh and new. And then the beauty of this renewal that was not happening in 88 and not exactly even possible because of the planetary alignments of that time. But now Chiron is there in Aries for a good 7, 8, 9 years. So again, the social collective is getting a chance to learn how to heal ourselves, the individual, how to educate ourselves, and how to transform ourselves to make a better life and to create a life we can be responsible for, but also that we can love and be proud of, and one that has purpose and direction, and you have some kind of drive for something. It may not be the norm, it may not be what's expected of you from culture, but you have a purpose. It is important to always stay connected to that root purpose of your being here and then expand that to what's your purpose for the family, community, and world beyond yourself. But you have your own purpose, and Mars is all about it. It wants you to understand who you are and understand what you want. And so when it stimulates these different areas of our lives, and in this case it's intensely Aries for the rest of the year, it's giving you permission to focus on you in a way where the world is crumbling. I get it, and it's hard not to watch. But the truth is, most of it you can't physically do anything about. So Mars is also about our physical actions and our literal choices, the choices we make with our everyday choices. I'm choosing to eat this food. I'm choosing to get this rest or not. I'm choosing to do everything I do in a day-to-day basis. Mars is right there with you. And in Aries, it's really all about you getting your courage together, your conviction for your own independence, like wanting to be independent. I've come across people in the world who do not want to be independent. They really prefer the structure and being told what to do. But that's not really healthy. It's hard to then extricate yourself, like now when that container is falling apart. Then what do you do for yourself? I look at it right now as, think of the little snails that have to come out of their shell because they've now outgrown it. And they have to be really vulnerable for a minute while they slip their bodies back into a new shell that's bigger and more adequate to their purpose at this time. We as humans go through that too. It's a Saturn cycle. Every 7 years, our physical cells slough off. And so just think about the changes that happen every 2 years in the Mars cycle. And so who you are and what you want has changed a couple times over during that body of work for you, that 7-year body of work for any of us. And so this is an incredible opportunity that we've never seen be able to happen this way, like en masse, where everyone got to turn within, everyone got to time out, everyone is getting interrupted in their flow. Now, I'm not saying it's a good thing or how we're being interrupted is just this wonderful opportunity, but we have to turn it into one, and we have to claim our truth out of it and not let the influence of a lot of doom and gloom and destruction and self-destruction influence our stories, because we're also spending this whole year reorganizing our story. So one of the beautiful things about the activation that sort of kicked off this special update this week is on the 24th, tomorrow, when Mars gets together with Saturn in a square, Aries to Capricorn. So we're going to get into specifics in a minute, but I want you to feel the general energy and the value of where we are in the cycles. Because like I said, Mars hasn't been there in 30 years. Saturn hasn't been in Capricorn in 28 because it was there in 88. That's what's really unique, is these two were kind of in the same zone, circling and just missing each other then. And now Jupiter hasn't been in Capricorn in 12 years, and Pluto hasn't been in Capricorn in 248. So the way I put it in my update is that for us in the Aries, in the individual and personal, we are initiating completely new for ourselves, for our individual vision, for our lives, for our families, for our communities, and for the planet. But that Capricorn crew is ending a cycle. They're all wrapping up their time in Capricorn this year, and that's it. For 12, 28, and 248, Pluto's got 3 more years in Capricorn until 2024. That's not long, not in the way life is speeding by right now. And that 2024 also coincides with our next election. So I'm just saying, this election is so indicative of the corrosive, toxic, ineffective government that we have. So as individuals, for the people, by the people, if we the people can figure out what they're doing, we might be able to rein these folks in. But it's guaranteed that it won't happen if we don't figure out what we want. So it's almost like spirit, the universe, the cycles all lining up at this one time, and then COVID taking us out like this is, again, forcing us to check in with our own homes, our own environments, our own neighborhoods, everybody that is in your day-to-day. And is that really a vibrational match for who you are or who you have become over the last 30 years, essentially? And if you just turning 30, it's a big deal because there was a lot going on when you were born, and it's all kind of culminated now, and it's still up to you to choose a new way going forward. So I think I want to lead with my overview from my mailing that goes to my e-list. So if you want to get a little extra or be notified that I've updated the blog or the YouTube channel, then you would want to do that. But this week has the important Mars activation to pay attention to because it will happen 3 times over. So it is best to look at it as a process, more than the usual one hit and move on. Mars lingering in Aries is challenging us all to focus on self in ways we normally do not have the time nor the support from others to do. But 2020 has smashed that and created an opening where there was none before. As I've said, I think we are shortcutting to our next level in a lot of ways. The better we are at streamlining our individual lives, the easier it will be to navigate the social collective realms with more ease and grace, and much better personal boundaries. The other thing that's a good reminder now is that Mars already kicked off the process with Jupiter first, who only has 2 chances to activate our imaginations and really get us tapped into the higher self to determine what we believe to be true or possible for yourself in particular, but then that extends out to the social and collective realms. So this is what I mean. I want to kind of do these in order. So since it already hit Jupiter first, what that did was it challenged what we believe to be true and possible for ourselves as individuals and asked us to choose something new and more imaginative and more life-affirming, okay? But the description goes like this. This energy can be expressed one of 2 ways, like most. You can overextend yourself and your resources, being overly optimistic without actually doing any planning or work, relying on luck alone, and unfortunately, this expression will basically make you pay double in more ways than one down the road. The better way to express this energy is to think of what you are doing today that can benefit you in the future. So this is why getting healthy, getting a stronger immune system, getting more rest, getting better nutrition to the degree that you can, substituting one thing, just change one thing, We are all about it around here. You change one thing and all of a sudden 3 or 4 other things automatically change. It's really amazing. You have access to foresight, so use it to foresee what your ultimate goal really is and what steps you can take today that can make that happen. Focus on what can be rather than what is right now or what is over and will never be again. You could just get depressed that way. You also have access to increased energy and desire to push your own limits, consciously or not, which can be useful, but not if you overdo it. Then you defeat the whole purpose. Calculated risk is okay. Impulsive reactions, not so much. This is also the energy of when things are good, they're very good, but when they are bad, they are terrible. So keep it positive, stay focused, and balance your input with your output, mentally, emotionally, and physically, okay? So we're getting 2 chances with this. August 4th, which just passed a week or 2 ago, and October 19th, right before Halloween. So think of it this way. We had to kind of unlearn or recognize what beliefs no longer serve us or are literally not serving who we are or what we want. So why would we continue to believe that? So let's change our thinking in some ways. Let's expand our consciousness. Let's expand our view of ourselves during this time in between August and October and dream up the new story that you want to tell individually. And Jupiter can help you do that. Jupiter is a benefactor. Jupiter is expanding things to show you other ways of doing you, that there's more to you. There's more in your consciousness. There's more in your personal expression. You have a bigger story than you're giving yourself credit for. All of us do. And that's why there had to be a break to realign, because in order to have the age of Aquarius really come in, where we are individuals that are completely aware that we're part of a whole and that we live on a living, breathing planet that needs care as well if we're going to continue to function the way we do. So deep breath, think bigger. But in some ways, you're going to have to let go of your small self, and you're going to have to let go of your lower will in a way to get yourself opened up to the higher will that comes next with Pluto. So I say in the newsletter, once you can believe something new is even possible, then Mars meets up with Pluto, which was August 13th, just 10 days ago. It will do it again October 9th, so really close to that Jupiter one. And then the final time, December 23rd, which is around the time Jupiter and Saturn get together and initiate the Aquarius thing on December solstice, on winter solstice this year, 2020. It's huge. It's a huge initiation, but it's also much more like a conception point. So think of that as being holy ground, number one, because whatever influences the conception obviously is going to influence the development of the creation going forward. So we want really strong, light-filled, love-filled, heart-centered goodness going into our creative process when we are calling in the new level of human consciousness that's possible, because we have more information now. We can make new decisions, even if we believed something before. And even if it used to be true, some of this stuff might used to have been true as well, but it's not true anymore. And so we have to get present to what's true right now, deal with that. And so Pluto comes along, ushering in the utter transformation of who you are and what you want, as well as make you conscious of how you make your conscious choices and choose your action. So Pluto digs up in you as well, in all of us, in the Mars department. Who you are and what you want has run its course at a minimum for this 30 years. Got to do it in a new way on some level. If you happen to have Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, this is all tremendously personal and has unbelievable reverberations that probably go all the way back through the last 7 generations of your family. So it's important that you also give yourself credit for whatever soul work and cleansing and clearing and releasing that you've been able to do this lifetime, that it has also kind of opened that up for generations past and the next 7 generations coming. So allow Pluto to distill you back to your essence of your courageous, caring, present in your body and mind, aware, having a self-awareness and then having a global awareness. So important to reset right now and to remember and to recalibrate. And because Mars only goes backwards, like I said, once every 2 years, this is huge. So think about 2 years ago, what was happening? How was life rearranged for you then? And at the same time, if you are old enough and 88 was as impactful as it was for me, then you might remember things happening 88 to 92. That whole window is back. And there are ways where we access more freedom at that time. And there's also ways that we gave up our freedoms in America in particular in ways that are biting us in the booty now. So pay attention, get present to you, the individual, and where your place is in the social and collective, and determine how much you can really handle and affect in terms of your own reach. So starting with yourself and your loved ones, your immediate family, because this is personal right now. We're all of 2020, because Venus went backwards in 2020 and Mars is going backwards in 2020. Our sacred feminine, sacred masculine dynamics, which is how we were created with both within us. Every single human on the planet has both within you, and we need a certain balance of that to function properly. So we can't be all yanged out, masculine, go, 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 do, 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 make bigger, 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 more, 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 without a proper container. And the feminine is the container. So the idea is to create the container and then go do the actions. You don't want to do the actions and then have to create the container around that. So choices and decisions internally happen right now, where Pluto's connecting you also to your soul self. So we're going deeper. Jupiter was your consciousness that had to get rewired. Now your soul has to get rewired. And so let's read the Mars-Pluto one, which happened on the 13th. Lower will versus higher will. This is truly a test of what you're made of on the deepest core level, and will require surrender as well as focus. This energy challenges you to evolve and will make you want to push through all obstacles, but you must be careful not to be so aggressive that you are stepping on anyone to get where you are going. This is a potent energy that can facilitate major transformation in your life if you know who you are, what you want, and what you are willing to sacrifice to get there. That includes parts of yourself that may need to shift to be more effective or go away altogether. This energy can bring power struggles within or without, so be mindful, because this energy is affecting everyone at this time. This is the time to tie up any loose ends if you are close to beginning anew, and if you do not finish what you already have in the works, it may get in the way of things you want to do in the future. It is time to align your true inner power with balanced outer actions and conscious choices. Okay? Align your true inner power. That means what you can affect, the choices that affect you and your immediate environment and day-to-day existence right now is what's on the table. How can you choose that in a whole new way? How can you do that in a whole new way? How can you want something new? You know, like we all want what we want, but it's not going to happen this year the way we ever dreamed it would. So if it's not out the window altogether, then how can you want it in a new way, or want it, you know, some new value that has been revealed now because of this excavation of going deeper than your surface self, going to your soul self. Now, you know, we looked at what you consciously want and who you think you are. And Pluto always strips that bare and brings you back to your essence. And it's like nothing, let's say non-essential, will work for Pluto. Pluto is pure power. So we want to have a clean channel to direct that power. That's how working with Pluto goes. Then we have this week, Mars hitting Saturn August 24th, which is tomorrow. And we get an opportunity to restructure and rebuild from the rubble of Pluto's destruction of that which is no longer viable anyway. No one promised easy, but I do think the investment in self at this time will be worth it in the end when we are in brand new territory come spring of 2021. So tomorrow, Mars square Saturn says this is the energy of action being restricted and the anger or frustration that follows. So you can either be angry and feel restricted, limited, and unable to move, or you can see this energy as an opportunity to define the right actions to take and strategically plan to take them when the universe is more supportive. This energy requires us to slow down and double check the plan, whatever that is. And if you don't have one, Saturn's asking us to get one when it's talking to Mars. It's like, you better have a plan. If you proceed cautiously and consciously, your plan has a better chance of success than if you were reckless and impatient. You may experience a blockage of some sort, internal or external. That's always how Saturn gets our attention. You may feel this tremendous urge to change or move forward in your life, but seem to find blockages and limitations with every effort. So see what I mean? This is going to be going on the rest of the year. The last hit of this isn't until December. It's huge. Often this is our perception when Saturn's involved. You know, we feel inadequate and we ask, you know, what are we afraid of? False evidence appearing real. So it asks us to release fear and choose to be responsible for creating our own life. And if you don't, then your outer circumstance only becomes a reflection of your inner belief. You will attract criticism and repel support. And who wants to do that? This is that 90-degree angle that is really challenging, but also makes you stronger, makes you better. It's a staircase leading to something of a higher caliber, of a higher vibration. But you got to do the work first. You got to make adjustments. You got to get used to it, right? When we change frequency and we up our game in any kind of way, we have to do some other adjusting as well. You can also take your grand vision and try to figure out 3 small steps you can take on this restricted level that is still taking you in the direction of your goal. Because almost always there's something you could do. Absolutely. Don't try to initiate at this time. See, not really worth initiating anything for the rest of the year, only because it's going to change at least 2 or 3 times over before spring. So this is what I mean by Saturn slowing us down to see if we really want what we say we want, and do we really want it in the way we say we want it. Okay, so getting really clear is going to be more helpful than pushing the river and trying to get things done or get things initiated. That's just not going to even happen. You're going to be mad, you're going to be frustrated, and that's when it gets ugly. It's a time for cultivating, planning, working behind the scenes, doing the detail work and the foundational work, which is also known as the grunt work very often. But it's the work that's necessary to support the grand vision when the time comes to fully express it. So we want to honor Saturn, slow down, figure out what's weak within us, what's weak within our identity, what's weak within our purpose, what's weak within our choices and direction of late, like let's just say of the last 2 years. How can we do that better? How can we be more responsible? How can we be more independent and keep better boundaries? Huge, huge, huge. As an individual, we are not equipped or wired to process daily tragedy on the level that we are exposed to it, period. It will blow your systems. So if you don't control your boundaries, if you turn on that phone and you turn on Facebook and you turn on Twitter and all the rest, and you actually go looking for this stuff, you are inviting it into your field, and it is going to affect your field. So if you must, limit the time on that and see the difference. My husband's eating earlier in the night. We used to eat at like 8 o'clock. Now we eat at 6. He's sleeping better. So sometimes there's this very slight change that can make enormous effect in a positive way that we can, that's what we're looking for the rest of the year. All the little things we can change about ourselves and our lives and simplify so we don't even need anybody from the outside to do our day-to-day essentially. But if we want, then it's optional. And we can invite people into our field at that point. So last thing with the note, and we'll wrap this up. So most of you know I care about the order these things hit because I think it helps us see how the universe is molding and shaping us with these activations, which are planetary transits. Here's what I mean. And what I did is I just kind of listed out a bullet for August. August 4th, we grow in truth, story, and belief system. That's what's evolving for you, the individual. 13th, you transform who you are and what you want on an utter, pure Pluto level. The 24th, then you restructure and fortify from there, right? Then we're going to go forward. Well, they're actually going backwards. They're going to hit it again. Now the order changes because you've had a little life experience. Things have gone on. These planets don't move at the same speed, so things change. Now the order of activations, which are all about in a 2-week span, just like they are for this one in August, they're going to be that way in the beginning of October. This time, you got to restructure and fortify who you are and what you want. But Saturn's hard. Saturn's the get real, reality check planet. And it's going to ask you what you've done between August and October. What have you learned? What have you built? What kind of strength have you gotten together in that zone? If you listen to any of my weekly forecasts, that's what I've been saying. For August, September, you really want to do the processing, do the integration work, pull back in and create a new routine for yourself that works around COVID, which apparently is not going away, and that works around some of these travel restrictions, which also I don't think are going away. So you need the rest of this year to just stay focused on you. So Saturn is going to bring that back into focus. And as it does that, and as it kind of messes with you a little bit, because that's what Saturn does, that's the time where you feel like you're being held back by the elbows. And see, remember now, Mars wants to go, go, go. Saturn wants to slow down and go step by step. So what we want to do is balance those two inclinations within us out. Whenever Mars is working with Saturn, it's like that because they have completely different natures. And in this case, they're both in their home signs, so they're both at their peak power. So we want to be able to change and grow, because if we are able to do it at this level, this way, and under all these circumstances and still come out breathing and on top, then something really new is possible, something better, something more holistic and healthy for humans as well as the planet. So we're going to get serious in October, start thinking about these things, transform who you are and what you want. Then it's going to go to Pluto. It's going to go even deeper. So that could be like going down. And we're approaching the holidays, which is probably going to start stressing people out in October. And then October 19th, it hits Jupiter, and that's the last chance. That's the only other time Mars is going to hit Jupiter like this in Capricorn, because then it goes forward into Aquarius. And so growing in your truth, story, and belief system is going to be what comes out of the reality check of Saturn and the transformational work of Pluto that you do in the first week or two of October, or you're going to be feeling it anyway. So like I said, with these activations, the energy actually is more intense the week or two before, leading up to. So we're looking at fall equinox, the week before fall equinox. It's going to start intensifying again. And so just be ready. That's the whole point of these updates, so I can help you be ready, so you can be aware, and so that you can consciously direct the energy. We know it's crazy out there. We know it's imbalanced and upside down and extremely inhumane on many levels. And so we've got to be working on our own story, because the better we can change our story and the more light we can stay focused on, the more people in the darkness can find you, the more they can find their way back to the light, because it exists. We don't want to go down in the darkness with them, because then we take the light with us. We don't want to do that. So manage your energy, manage your time, manage your resources in a whole new way. This is a total year giving you permission to be selfish in a way that feeds your self-preservation. And it's not a bad thing. You are reestablishing some strength and energy within you so that you can face whatever comes in 21. That's the point of this. And so honoring that fall change when we get another round is going to carry us through. We're going to have to evolve out of that for a couple of months to December, January. And that's the final hits. And so this is why I say I don't feel like the energies are going to be really forward moving in an obvious way until spring. But they really do start moving forward in January, February, because that'll probably be the only month of the year when all planets are forward too. So we got to look at that. I don't have that in front of me, but there's usually some days in between in January, February where all the planets are direct, which is a really good thing, especially after having the unusual ones, you know, Venus every 18 months, Mars every 2 years. The rest are pretty standard right now, and they happen annually, and they give us a chance. That's the other thing about the social collective planets going backwards, is that then they give us strength as individuals. It withdraws the energy from being poured into the social collective and allows you to turn it inward if you will let it. Basically, I just want you to think about, especially with the Mars-Saturn connection this week, how getting delayed on what you want or who you are, how have you learned this lesson in other ways throughout your life that the delay was divine order? Because you didn't really want that. You thought you wanted that. You thought you wanted to be that person. And when it didn't work out, how long did it take you to figure out that that was totally divine order? I can speak on it. I can say I was a singer-songwriter back in the day trying to get into the music business, and that was not meant to be. So now I'm still a writer, and I still sing around the house and have fun with it, and it still makes me happy, but I wasn't built for that business. But you couldn't tell me that at 21. So I had to learn that that was totally divine order. That's what this Saturn and Mars is doing for us. It's slowing us down from what we thought we wanted all throughout 2018, 19 for sure, and is making us rethink that. Do you really want that? Is that really the way you wanted it? And how can we imagine something better? So the last little bit of the note says it's all Aries, representing you, the individual, to Capricorn, which is representing the social and collective in general. Mars in Aries is actually initiating a new 2-year cycle, while the others are finishing up major cycles. 12-year cycle for Jupiter, 28-year cycle for Saturn, 248-year cycle for Pluto. All three interactions are all about how we can be more responsible, meaning able to respond for ourselves especially. So I asked the question, can we heal, educate, and transform ourselves so that society can be reborn at this higher level of consciousness? Can we do it? I think so. I want to believe. Can we be the authority in our own lives and still be of service to the whole? We've got to imagine how to do this in a whole new way. And to the extent that you can maintain your own boundaries, responsibilities, and commitments, which is Saturn's domain, right? Boundaries, responsibilities, and commitments. That will be the extent of freedom and independence you're able to have in your life going forward after 2020. Deep breath, right? All of it requires courage too. So through it all, that is what we are developing the most. Our courage to believe something new and more life-affirming. Our courage to let go of the old way of life that no longer serves anyone anyway. And our courage to rebuild a beautiful, sustainable world for one and all. One which considers the last 7 generations of wisdom and carries it into what we're doing now, but especially for the next 7 generations. We definitely know better now on many, many things, like global warming, and even the politics has evolved because the world has evolved, right? It is a tall order, no doubt, but we're all built for this. Dig deep and remember. Remember yourself. Put yourself back together, who you really are and what this sacred orb of a planet and home base for now really is. And that alone ought to change how you do things. So using these energies for what they're good for is what I'm all about. Because otherwise you get smacked around by the fear and anxiety and craziness of people who can feel the energy but don't know what it is, don't understand, don't want to think about that. That's all just too much. I get it. But if you know energy and you understand and you take the names and faces off of all of it, it's energy. And once you do that, it's easier to direct the energy. And that's all we want to do, is direct it better on our own behalf. But in order to do that, we've got to know ourselves better. We've got to know what we can do for ourselves and what we can't, what we absolutely need a social and collective structure for. So we have to redream it. And this is our chance. And there are lots of good people on the ground, grassroots operations, that have brilliant, easy, simple ideas that actually do help greater numbers of people. Let's support them. Let's support a healthy lifestyle. Let's support strong immune systems so that we're not so fragile and weak in the face of other opinions. It's deep, you know? So when you shift, everything around you has to change or go away. That's how it works. You can't control the outer, so you might as well control the inner and work on that and figure out who you are and what you want for the years you have on the planet too, because time is short. We can do this a different way, but it starts with you, the individual. It starts with you changing your own rhythm, changing your own focus. It's time to make new choices. And some of us will, and some of us won't, and it's all good. So try to be on that progressive side of things. What is humanity really going to need? So dream up your new reality, a new story that you want to tell going forward, and prepare to weave it into the social collective as it evolves right alongside you. So this is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com. Be well. Thanks for listening.